Starting is the hardest part. Let's talk about it. What's up, y'all? My name is Elia. I'm a mindset coach. I talk candidly about my journey, as well as share tips to encourage growth and healing and uplift anyone who may struggle with feeling seen. So, starting is the hardest part. Oftentimes, when we're starting something new, there's this hesitation or reluctance to start because of all of the uncertainty about where it may go and how that might actually pan out. You just might not feel ready. And here's the thing: nobody's ever really ready for anything. You kind of got to get there and figure out what you even need to do to fully be quote unquote ready. I think there are a lot of ways to prepare yourself for things, but ready is kind of a myth, if you ask me. What I often see is that the comfort zone and what is familiar is feels a lot more safe than what is unknown, because that's a completely open door of gray. You don't know what you're going to get. And that can lead to procrastination, analysis paralysis, perfectionism in the attempt to actually get ready, but not actually execute and start that initiative, take the first step to putting in the energy and the work to really creating something new. And that can lead to a lot of doubt about your ability to actually follow through, which then reinforces this idea of not even putting in the effort in the first place. And it's really easy when starting something new to get into this fixed mindset about the possible outcomes being negative, because you really may not have a lot of data that tells you otherwise. You don't have anything that tells you it will necessarily or guarantees that it will work in your favor, but you may have plenty of things that tell you it might not work in your favor, and seeing those risks might really scare you about the outcomes. And that fear of failure sometimes just stops people from trying altogether. So it's easier to be in a situation where there may be instant gratification and trust that, than to start something that you know there won't be instant gratification about. Because what do you do when it gets hard and in the moments that you don't have answers and you have to find a way to keep going? It's often a lot easier to just not even try. So as always, I want to share a bit about what this has looked like for me, or moments in my life when it has come up, because my aim here is always to humanize this stuff. We're all in it together, we're all doing the work. So I'm no different. So I've started several companies throughout my years. Most of them failed and kind of went nowhere. A few of them actually did pretty well. And for one reason or another, I had to ultimately kind of walk away from all of them. But my point is, I never knew until I knew. Every company that I chose to start was, in essence, out of thin air, because I just decided that's what I was going to do for one reason or another, and then started to take steps to actually do that. And in the beginning stages, I always had a lot more questions than answers. And even with starting this company, at first I was terrified of doing it because of negative experiences with past companies, and having things either not work in the past or work really well, and then having to walk away from things. And that was really hard for me to get over. It's been really hard, as someone who views themselves as a serial entrepreneur. That's been very hard to walk away from and really choose to lean into my purpose and the intention that I've set over my life and how I want to really pour into the world, and actually choose to start this latest venture. So, all that is to say, this is something that I have struggled with and still have to navigate daily as an entrepreneur myself. So, with that said, I want to share a few tips that have helped me and continue to help me, truthfully, in hopes that they will help you on your journey. First and foremost, I think it's really important to examine and explore what could go well, and not just focus on what could go wrong. Seek opportunities, don't just focus on the risk and potential downside. I think all of that has to be examined, don't get me wrong, so you can't, just wear rosy glasses. But oftentimes it's easy to just look at the possible negatives and let that completely overshadow all the possible positives of something. How could this actually go really well if I just put in the effort and show up fully and am responsible and accountable to what I've started? And then I think it's really important to break large goals into small, attainable chunks. Sometimes our goals are bigger than life, and I actually champion that. I really encourage you to have very big goals that seem almost impossible, because really almost nothing is impossible if you try hard enough, in my opinion. But you got to also break that down into manageable things that you can actually do to get toward that bigger goal. You can't do it all at once. You got to take bite-sized chunks. And then it's important to take inventory of accomplishments or situations in the past that may have challenged you that you navigated. And the importance of this step is that you can pull confidence from this. If you did something in the past that you had no idea how to do and you learned how to do it, what's stopping you from learning how to do something new or creating something new today? In my opinion, just your mind. And along the way of actually doing something or starting something, and maybe even before you actually start, it's really important to appreciate the journey and not just the destination or the outcome. It's often easy to get fixated on the outcome or possible outcomes. And don't get me wrong, it is important to have an idea of where you want to wind up and all the things that could happen along the way, or even how things could go. That is actually very important, but there's so much value and so much beauty in the journey, and at some point I think it's more important to actually look at the overall situation and be like, hey, there's so much that I can create and learn in the process of this. I just have to actually start. And then celebrating wins and celebrating progress along the way, no matter how small. Even if it's, hey, I chose a name for my new business today. Hey, I ordered a supply that I needed today. Hey, I'm going to start, I don't know, I'm going to become a photographer. I ordered a camera today. Whatever that progress actually looks like, celebrating that and really leaning into that and holding that dear, because that is part of the journey. And then it's important to seek support, community, and accountability. Because oftentimes when we're starting something new, it's easy to just hide it and not let anybody know, because then nobody's there to hold us accountable. But if it really matters, I think it's important to find somebody to hold you accountable for the moments when you're trying to run away from yourself. That external person can be like, but you said you care about this, so care about it. So I hope those tips do help you on your journey. And as always, again, I want to leave you with one reflective question. And today's question is, what is the fear of the unknown stopping you from achieving? And what small step can you take to challenge and overcome that today? Think about it.